Hello and welcome, everyone, to the March 2nd edition of GAIN, the Generative AI News Rundown, the weekly live show from Voicebot.ai and Synthedia. I'm Eric Hal Schwartz, Voicebot's head writer, and I'm very excited to welcome you all here. My usual co-host, Brett Kinsella, is just getting back from his travels, but should be back next week. Instead, I'm excited to welcome my other colleague, Andrew Herndon, to come up here and join me. If you are joining us live, please feel free to share any comments or questions you have, as we will be responding to them throughout the show. Welcome, Andrew. Why don't you introduce yourself a bit to people who might not know you?
Hey, Eric. Hey, everyone. Those of you that I haven't met, I am the producer and lead researcher of VoiceBot. I do a lot of work behind the scenes, and I'm excited to be here and doing the GAIN today. So,
yes,
it's a great story, huh?
Yes, there's a lot to talk about, but the biggest one by far, and one that honestly is going to have an impact on pretty much everything involving generative AI, is OpenAI's release of the ChatGPT API, along with the Whisper, the voice text-to-voice API. It's kind of a big deal. It's going to give all the companies that have been really excited to use generative AI or to claim that they have ChatGPT as a feature. It's going to give them the option to include the real thing in their products, whether it's for customer service or for any kind of internal workings. I think it's going to be the thing that really accelerates adoption of this kind of technology. And I know, Andrew, you've been following along, just as a colleague of mine and Brett. So I'm curious, when you hear that ChatGPT is available for everyone, do you just see this as what every company you interact with is going to have to adopt at some point?
Well, I mean, certainly, I don't think that today is it's not a miracle moment, right? So everybody's been waiting for it, certainly in our community, and certainly most of the third-party developers that we talk to and deal with, they've already been working on everything behind the scenes. So as we see, a lot of companies made announcements at the same time as this announcement because it's been in the works for so long. So I think everybody's excited that it's finally here. And I think, as with everything else, it came a little faster than we might have anticipated, but also I'm sure that everybody has been expecting it for the longest time, and then boom, now it's here. So great. Next.
Yeah, it's one of the things I find very interesting is that there has been an API for GPT 3.5, which was sort of the base for ChatGPT. And what you started to see was a lot of companies referencing that they had the same generative AI service as ChatGPT, or in some cases actually saying that they had ChatGPT when they didn't, which was interesting. But now they're going to bring sort of the same sort of intelligence, same sort of adaptability, and I think the competition, such as it is from other providers, whether it's Google or AI21 or whoever, I think there's going to be that much more of a rush to come up with something that can respond as well as ChatGPT. But yeah, the speed is also interesting because it implies that really they were just waiting on perfecting it, or maybe just waiting for Microsoft to get the Bing's AI out as much as possible. I don't know. Does it seem like a business call to you, or do you think it's purely a technical choice?
It's probably both, right? So I think we can't be too serious, but I think there's certainly, in the general public, there's been a little bit of a waning in their excitement about ChatGPT now that a lot of people have reached some sort of a trough of disillusionment, just kind of so it's kind of just this next, they have to keep this hype cycle going. And so this is clearly going to be very good for all the business people that have been spending the last 2 or 3 months going, how are we going to incorporate this? How are we going to do it? Okay, now we have another dot on our roadmap is ready to go. So now they can go back to their people that they're talking to and say, okay, we're on the next step of the plan, and we can keep rolling with this. So I think overall it's going to be good for everybody, and we're all going to be excited about it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. As big as that news is, the fact that OpenAI decided it wasn't enough on its own, that they paired it with the release of an entirely different API, in this case Whisper, which is a speech to text and automatic speech recognition tool. And what's interesting about that, of course, is that it came out. It was actually announced last year as a open source software kit, and something that people could or companies could use as they built their own ASR systems. But now it seems like OpenAI really wants to make it more of a convenient feature, and of course set up a new revenue stream to go along with what's going to start coming in from the ChatGPT API. It's a little surprising that something that was open source is now a product, but I don't know. In your opinion, what's the thinking behind this to go from open source to paid for service? Why? What's going to be the reasoning behind if you already wanted it? Why wouldn't you just use the open one?
Well, of course, OpenAI does have to kind of think about their cost structure and how they're doing things. And so, one of the interesting things we saw with this was that there was actually some, I guess, cost reduction or cost, I think what the
not just some, a lot of
6 cents per minute or something is what they're saying. Whether that is what it's actually going to be, or this is just the announcement, I think we'll still see. I see Brett was mentioning in the comment too, with the ChatGPT, that 90% cost reduction in support, and the lower price point for the Turbo API is one of the big selling points for him.
Yeah, that's honestly probably going to be the main reason for companies to switch over. They've already been using a GPT 3.5 API. There might be discussion about how much better is ChatGPT, but if the price is going to be so much lower, and apparently because of solving technical problems, then there's going to be a faster adoption there. It's pretty amazing, partly because that was the one major headache that OpenAI has discussed is the cost of running ChatGPT, running it as a free service, even in the pro version, the $20 a month subscription, just how much energy and processing power running it took. But they claim to have cut it by 90%, which could, again, as we talk about all the other reasons for an accelerating adoption by companies, I think that's going to be the one that really makes certainly the accountants smile.
I feel like what was the quote? The costs were eye-watering, or something was the original quote. And so maybe there's a couple less tiers there for sure. So.
Yeah, I do wonder about how eye-watering it really was, though, because especially for OpenAI, their entire system was built around wanting to support this kind of technology. So if the costs were that prohibitive, I don't know how far it would have gotten. So I do wonder if it's more of a opportunity now to scale, perhaps, rather than be limited to the sort of ad hoc enterprise inclusion that had been available before.
And in general, OpenAI's whole game plan for releasing the ChatGPT and now everything has been so that they can scale at a level that they would not have been able to if they hadn't done it. So, scaling, I think, is probably one of their biggest reasons for everything that they're doing right now. So.
Yeah, and they have already signed up, several companies that are definitely going to be thinking about scale first and foremost. Even before announcing the API, Snap and for Snapchat's parent company said that they would be including ChatGPT, even though they didn't say it was a ChatGPT API, but they now have essentially a Snapchat AI assistant to help users presumably perform tasks and to help write captions and really engage with their customers, which might be something that draws more or I guess longer use of Snapchat. But to be honest, I was a little surprised that they're so eager for that sort of conversational interface when it's a social media app that's very much based around people talking to other people. I don't know. Are you going to be
Mm-hmm.
Snap's AI for advice in your photos?
Well, I have to start using Snap to begin with, but I'm probably going to try to use it maybe this weekend. I'll see what it's all about if I can, but I don't know. I think they are going to get a lot of good feedback from it. They're going to get a lot of learning, and they probably want to try to figure out how they can use it for some of the extra features that they're going to be kicking out along with it down the road, trying to figure out how to do some more marketing and stuff with it as it goes on, because the versatility of something that's powered by a language model for in-app features is something that we're going to see more of as we go down the road. And, we're at the beginning of even thinking about what a UX for an LLM interface and how we're going to converse with it. But I think that these major players like Snap that have well-defined UX teams and really are doing it, there's going to be a lot. I think the whole conversation design angle from where we go here, it's going to be a really interesting year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as in the comments, Mikhail Stanislav points out that it means that bigger brands will experiment, and along with Snap, I mean, it might be hard to imagine the AI assistant bringing in too much revenue for Snap, but the idea of Instacart and Shopify using ChatGPT to help people figure out what to make, I mean, that seems very obvious. You ask ChatGPT for ideas on a dinner, and you ask it how to make something, and then there you are on Instacart and Shopify, ready to put things in your cart and make a purchase. And similarly with the Quizlet, which is an educational quiz service, sometimes those kinds of services can be a little repetitive or rote, but if you have ChatGPT there, suddenly you have a much more flexible and tutor essentially that can adapt to how you respond. So I think there's a lot of seeds for growth there.
Snap really has a very large user base that is probably going to be really quick to start working with this. So just the opportunity for adoption just of ChatGPT fueled interactions, and it's going to be huge. And again, that whole just way of interacting and bringing in the e-commerce, like if someone sends you a Snap and you're just like, whoa, I like that, and then you have a conversational way to say, I love that hoodie, where did you get it? Like, and the LLM is either co-piloting or something else in the future. That's going to be just a huge thing, because then you can go get your whatever Target hoodie right there immediately. They're going to be excited to just pull that for you. So
and then combine it with Whisper, which is not necessarily going to be in the same apps, but the concept of ASR that is specifically trained for loud rooms or for people with accents or who use technical language. I think there's going to be a lot of interest, if there isn't already, in something like that, especially if they can match the price point or have some other elements that make people interested in it. And speaking of audio, one of the other big exciting generative AI assistants announced this past week was from Spotify. If you want to play that little video there, you can hear what Spotify is doing.
Hey Max, what's going on? I'm X, and from this moment on, I'm going to be your own personal AI DJ on Spotify. Let's go.
That's right there. You can you can see what Spotify is doing. But what Spotify has done that's particularly amazing is they're combining generative AI with some other AI features, particularly voice cloning, synthetic voice generation. Basically, what they've done is used Semantic technology. Semantic is a synthetic speech company that Spotify actually bought last year. And they created a clone of one of their own, the DJ for one of their own streaming radio shows, and they've combined that with generative AI and data from individual users, so that everyone who's on Spotify can actually have their own DJ, picking out songs based on what they've listened to or what they might listen to, and not only tell them what's playing, but even throw in random facts about the genre or the artist. It's not exactly like having hired a DJ to follow you around and play music for you and tell you about it, but the combination of a real human voice, synthetic version of a human voice, and the sort of more human conversational tone and factual discussion from Spotify it's something that will, I think, draw people into continuing to use it even more than they already do.
Oh yeah, and, I think again, this is one of those things where it's going to allow people to be more comfortable with AI in their life in a less intrusive way. I mean, you could argue that it's a little bit intrusive because some people probably aren't going to want this service, but it's, they don't have to do it, right? They don't have to.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's just the idea is to, maybe you've gotten tired of your playlists, but maybe you're not necessarily a big fan of just seeing what Spotify randomly comes up with. I played with this DJ, and I like that not only does it say what it's going to play next based on what you listen to, but it says, I noticed you've been listening to this song a lot. Maybe you like this song, or I know you've heard this genre a bunch, but if you enjoyed that, maybe you would enjoy a related genre or a related artist. It's pretty good, but as with most things, the more you use it, the better it will get. As with Spotify's music choice, anyway. I also think it's funny that this is coming out now and may in fact be a big draw, but it comes after Spotify gave up on its recent hardware exploration with the Spotify car thing. Even though at the same time, I feel like in the car is most when you would want your own personal DJ to tell you what it's playing and why.
Oh yeah, so it makes total sense. Essentially, the product as they're rolling it out right now is like your own pop-up video, right? Like it's going to give you a little bit of the why, a little bit of the what, just those snippets of information just help you a little bit along. So they may in the future, if they pull in, a ChatGPT type thing, they might get a little bit more wordy or have a more interesting take than what they're offering right now. But it's still definitely, most people find themselves like having a playlist and wondering what one thing is that pops up that they weren't expecting was, when you let it auto DJ, when you're not just playing one that you've made, when you're in, you're like, oh, I forgot what that who is this? I know it, So just having that DJ interaction coming there is going to make it a more pleasant experience for some people, especially like you said, if you're on the go, if you're not trying to look at your device, if you're just trying to have. And
not to mention that it might appeal to those who are a little more skeptical of generative AI in general, because the fact of the matter is Semantic has had a very good engine for cloning voices. That's why Val Kilmer used them to replicate his voice for when he was making a documentary about losing his ability to speak. The DJ just sounds, if you didn't know it was generative AI versus a recording, you would not necessarily be able to tell. And I think that's going to be attractive. Although, as Brett points out, former Spotify employees, some of them seem to think that it'll be abandoned the way the car thing was abandoned. I don't know, when it's a software feature like this, I don't know if abandoned is the right term for it. Although we all know what happened with those projects for social audio after the pandemic started to calm down. So who knows if that's going to fit there. Yeah, I guess, for now it's going to be a fun to have, like an extra thing that they can tout, and whether the internal costs in the long run outweigh its usefulness and how, whether people really like it, or if it's just like an extra feature that they can turn on and off, that'll be the overall judge of that. But we also had some more news this week that I think we can move to. So speaking of extra features, there's very much a push by Microsoft to make their OpenAI based generative AI conversational agent, I guess, put it, from being available everywhere. They put it online, of course. They made it part of their browser. They expanded it to mobile. They even made it part of Skype, which is not a program I've opened in the last decade or so. But now they're trying to make generative AI chat through Bing a fundamental part of using a computer by putting it into the new Windows 11 upgrade in the search bar. The idea being that when you open Windows, when you open up the start, when you hit the start button to look for something, rather than going online to pull up the Bing AI, it would be just right there, available to you whenever you want it. And I think this, even more than the browser, is going to be where the average person discovers Bing AI. And I think that whether or not they like it is a different story. But I don't know, are you a fan of the idea of having this level of conversation on your computer?
So I've been a Windows user predominantly most of the time. And I will say that I anticipate using it through that at least as much as I used Cortana, which was only occasionally. I mean,
Yep.
in the same way that I use Siri on my Mac, it's like I mostly use it for retrieving something that I'm too lazy to find, and then also occasional other things. So the question is, will the aspect of the further enhancement make it more useful? And it might. I mean, again, I think of LLMs right now as a tool. And so if it's the easiest way to pull up the tool is for me to pull it up through a quick command on Windows versus going to a website, then I probably will use it. I don't know yet whether that's going to be the case and whether it's going to work better. But
well, and it's also, to me, what makes it a good idea for Microsoft is that no matter how powerful or even better the Bing AI chat is than what else is available, the habit of using Google, of making it a default, is very, very deeply ingrained in people's online choices. That, as we've discussed, there's a reason it's Google is the verb and not Bing for looking up something online. So if you can make it so that it's available without having to actually open a specific website or to make a choice about when you're doing an online search, whether or not you even go to Bing.com through talking to the AI on Windows, doesn't even matter. What it does is it simplifies the process of changing user habits, especially for those who are not necessarily going to be seeking out new search experiences after using Google as their default for the last 20 years.
All right, I'm going to have Windows Bing draft a Hotmail to Eric Schwartz to tell him how much I love the new Windows Bing.
Right.
And when I can do that, maybe that'll be really useful to me, right? Like if I can have it just auto draft the email, the quick thank you email that I really enjoyed the birthday party or whatever it was that weekend, and then I can just give an overview. That's going to be great for everybody. So those kind of things, which we've already seen, are like the real use case for LLMs right now, where it's something that doesn't matter. It's not consequential that it's right or wrong. You can just look at it real quick and it's going to do a good enough job.
And if it can remember your conversations and what you've been looking for, then maybe that means those of us like me who have a bad habit of having a million tabs open, including several searches, maybe that'll be one less tab to open if you're like trying to look up, as we discussed, looking up a recipe or looking up travel ideas or anything like that. I think, but on the other hand, no voice interface with the removal of Cortana last year. So it does feel like maybe a Whisper will be joining Bing as well in the future to give it that extra interactive opportunity.
Yeah. So we got two things that we want to head on before we head out. So I'm going to pull up our friend Facebook has.
Yes.
Something.
Yeah, there's the scramble to sort of catch up with what OpenAI and Microsoft is doing. There's all kinds of attempts at consumer and enterprise apps, but Meta, Facebook's parent company, is going for more of a overall a foundational approach, creating an entirely new LLM competitor for what OpenAI has made with GPT. In this case, though, they're actually making it open source and trying to give other researchers an opportunity to play at the base level for generative AI. And it's a question of whether this is something that there's going to be a lot of interest in when several other models are already out there. But I don't know, is this Meta's play to beat OpenAI, do you think, or is this just them trying to have some skin in the game?
Yeah, well, it's definitely skin in the game. Meta, it's not like this is their first dance. We're going to pull up our LLM timeline in a little while, and they are staying competitive, right? So they are not leading. I don't think any AI researcher would say they are leading the pack, but they have little moments where they contribute to the thing. They do definitely have a well-funded and reputable group of people working in AI on their team, and they've certainly tried a lot of things, but it's always like it's not. They haven't gotten the same results as what we think we see from Google, and then of course what we do see from OpenAI. Meta is always kind of just lurking in the background, like, "Hey, I'm still here,"
Yeah, hey, I'm still here. Yeah, that does feel a bit like this. That's their approach, which like I said, it's not that nothing useful won't come out of it, but I do think it's just not where the conversation is right now for those who are really into generative AI. It's their first experiments will not probably be with LLaMA.
Yeah. So with that said, just to send us home, we just at Voicebot we just put this this large language model timeline together. So we mentioned it briefly when we just talked about the Facebook thing. So we have, starting with Eliza, and we work our way down through that. And we encourage everybody to come check it out. Let us know what you think is worthy to be on here. Clearly, there are a lot more parameters than we have ever really been able to get on this thing, but we want to keep adding to it, and we would like the input from everyone.
Yeah, and we'll have to keep adding to it because every week there's another bunch of big moments.
Yeah, so already Facebook's going to come in right here. There's going to be probably the ChatGPT API launch. Both of those things are going to come in on this next update as soon as we update it. So anyways, thank everybody for coming and enjoying this time with us. Brett will be back for sure next week. We anticipate him to be really ready to go. So
rested and ready for more gain. Yes, thank you everyone. I really appreciate it, and we will be back next week.